So Fox and Friends, Fox News, has had somewhat of an odd and strange segment. Supposedly, we're to believe that Tulsi Gabbard has reneged all notion of credibility and has gone on bended knee to Wall Street, begging them for cash. Let's talk about it on the soapbox. So my name is Jamarl Thomas. I am your host. This is indeed the soapbox. And yeah, let's do the news. This particular one was interesting to me when I saw this article, and I was like, there is no way this is true. And then I see the guy who was pushing the story on Fox News, defending the story on Twitter. And then it became, yeah, this is definitely not true. So this is the story that Fox News, it is Fox News after all, news, in quotes, pushed out.
The American people, and that is a message of putting the well-being and the interests of the American people first and foremost, ahead of partisan interests, ahead of corporate interests.
All right, Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, just on Fox News a short time ago, talking about how she will distinguish herself from a crowded field of nearly 24 people right now, and talking about fundraising where she'll accept money, where she will not. Charlie Gasparino has been focusing on that very, very closely. He joins us right now.
She's bringing her message directly to the American people on Wall Street, we should point out, in the next coming weeks. We should point out that, I mean, she's not the only Democrat that has taken Wall Street money, as they're basically saying they're not going to take corporate money, but they are flooding Wall Street right now.
If you want to tell me that Buttigieg does that, fair enough. If you want to even tell me that every other Democrat, with the exception of one, Mr. Bernie Sanders, does that, I will say fair enough. You may know something that I don't, sir, in which case I would go with it. But if you're telling me that Tulsi Gabbard is going to burn her brand, like literally burn everything that makes her her in this potential election, yes, I understand the anti-war stuff, but secondary to the anti-war stuff is, look, on the domestic front, I mostly agree with Sanders. And so let's focus on the anti-war stuff, in which case we can find a difference between the two. If you're going to get me to believe she's going to burn her brand, I'm going to need some evidence. Now, he was on Twitter doing his damnedest, and by damnedest I mean like 2 tweets, trying to defend this. And so people were after him on this. And he says this: I have the fundraising letter. Sorry, that's called proof. So don't be that troll who tries to knock down a story that's 100% accurate. All right. Fair enough, dog. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. You got proof. Now, the only thing that needs to take place here is that I, with these eyeballs, need to peruse that proof. I need to touch it. I need to, fondle that proof. I need to see what you got. Because you asserting this, saying that I have a plan to end the war in Vietnam, but I can't tell you what that is until I get... That doesn't work. I need to see what that proof is. So, people did some digging, and what they realized, this is what he was talking about. This is Fox News. Tulsi Gabbard 2020, all right. An outspoken critic of regime change wars in the new Cold War, Tulsi Gabbard is running for president to take the trillions of dollars spent on war and invest in healthcare, education, protecting the environment, and rebuilding infrastructure, all right? As president, Tulsi will bring our soldiers' values to the White House. I don't know what that means. Putting service before self and people before profits, restoring values and dignity, honor, and respect to the presidency. Okay. All right, I get it. Saturday, June 8th, all right? 6:30 p.m., all right? 330 38th Street, apartment. What? Apartment, yes, apartment. PHFG, New York, 101. He means that it's literally in New York. That's what he's talking about. He's intentionally conflating. Here's money from Wall Street, Tulsi. Do good things for us. When you get in that office, protect us. When you get in that office like Obama protected us. He's conflating that with she's going to be in New York. There's a difference in those things. You may want to say technically she's in New York in the area of Wall Street, But that is a vast difference than what you're alluding to in that article, that she is, they're running credit cards down her ass cheeks as she spews lefty stuff. That's not what's taking place. That's not what's taking place. That's an amazing conflation. And in fact, if you want to go to that, it's so big dollar that you can literally go to Tulsi's website on Facebook and you can click going, or you can click for tickets, like right here. And it would ask you, hey, do you want to meet Tulsi at the Project Farmhouse? Yes, I want to meet Tulsi at the Project Farmhouse. All right. I'm going to put in my name. I don't even have to give money. So what is this big ticket? Taking money from... You can hit Buttigieg with that stuff, but Tulsi, it doesn't quite make sense. And Tulsi Whisperer, Nico House, says it himself. Hey, broski, it's not true. It's the reason they don't really give any details. There are no details. They literally just assert this. And it seems that the only thing they're going by is this. That's astonishing. That's nowhere near the truth. Like, I understand you want to hit somebody, and what's messed up, she's on Fox News all the time. And she's on Fox News all the time. They still hit her. That's amazing. I swear, man, politics is no friends. No friends at all. All right, fair enough. Their nonsense BS report on Tulsi Gabbard taking money from Wall Street, lumping her in with the likes of Biden. Oh, that's even grosser. But fair enough. Do you, boo? Do you? As far as I'm concerned, moving from ignoring to smearing is a sign of greater perceived threat. 38th Street is so far from Wall Street, 60 blocks. Baltazar, I don't think they care that it's that far from Wall Street. I think their thought is, she's in New York. When they're in New York, they're trying to get money from Wall Street. Yes, I can make the story work. I think that's where it begins. It is. Oh, she's saying one thing. I need to make it look like something else. And Baltazar, I agree with you on the greater threat stuff. I said this before. When Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, all these guys were in these anti-Sanders meetings, I scream with joy over this. Now, not because I like the fact that they're conspiring against Sanders, but the fact that they're conspiring against Sanders means that at the very least they're scared of Sanders. Hope that makes sense. Nobody's going to conspire over something they don't care about. Talks about, yes, Port Film Co-op. Talk about Vox, YouTube purge, political bias. Yes, I have that story coming up. Don't foreshadow. Don't foreshadow. You're jumping ahead of me. And yeah, just to kind of touch on that. Apparently Vox, or one of the reporters from Vox, was contacting YouTube about Steven Crowder. Apparently Crowder was being, a homophobe and being a bit of a bigot on this case. YouTube comes out with this heavy-handed approach and just purges. Some of the people that is purging are just journalists. Some were history teachers. It's like, oh, you were talking about the war. In one case, a guy was using capital letters, and so they got a letter saying, you were using too many capital letters. You need to review our policy. A heavy-handed approach, broad brushing, hitting a large swath of people. I've said before, more than one occasion, that there needs to be a union among YouTubers. And nothing makes this case clear. You are literally using a platform that you have zero control over. Zero. That policy that they just put into place, where they used to get rid of all those people, you realize they could change that policy tomorrow and get rid of another 100,000 people. We've become so dependent on an edifice in order to make a living that, these guys, technocrats, change something in code and have a determination on whether or not your channel lives or your channel dies. This is a problem. The bigger channels are not necessarily going to join into this because this is not one of those problems that they care about. It's kind of like the Vietnam War. When you were on the draft line, you cared about it. When you weren't on the draft line, you didn't care about it. My point is this. If nothing else makes this clear in the need of a union, this does. They could do this in another week. They could do this in another month. These purges can be persistent. You're dependent on an edifice for your living. Some of these guys were documentary makers. oh, we didn't like this particular content where you were talking about a war that took place. Was that war indicative of reality? Yes. But sorry, we don't like it. And then to make it even worse, there's no human component. There's no person that you talk to when this takes place. It is purely just a letter you get. And again, you're so dependent upon the device to make a living that the only thing you can interact with is this letter. I don't think you realize how terrifying it is for a person to be on, to use something as they're living, and with a whim, a policy change, coding change, anything, that living can be wiped away. But that's what we're talking about. There are many channels that are enduring this, left and right. And I gotta be honest, I started to get loath to comment on right-wing channel stuff, because right-wing channels never comment on left-wing channel stuff. They look at this stuff as purely politics, not just issues of like, it doesn't come across to me as if it digs into them at the level of ideology in as much as political posturing. If a left-wing channel gets hit, do they particularly care? Most of the time, I don't think they do. So should I, care all that much? In this case, though, this is hitting across large swaths. And again, this has been an argument that I've made going back for almost a year, if not longer. There needs to be some level of unionization among the people who are on YouTube. Otherwise, you're always going to have a situation where this corporate body can make what they consider to be minor change, but in real world terms from people who are using their platform to make a living, life-changing. Life-changing. I'm just saying. All right. I'm going to end this. Balthazar, my point being, if you're trying to raise from Wall Street donors in New York City, you're booking apartments in Upper West, Upper East Side of New York City, not 38th. No, Balthazar, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm saying they don't care. Like, if you are outside of New York, you don't know that. Like, the guy kind of made this point, like, there was a guy on Twitter that kind of made a similar point. And he's like, oh, good, where your streets in New York. He says, yeah, I lived in New York. I went to John Jay College. It's that type of thing. They're just conflating New York, Wall Street. They're not, I don't think there's a legitimacy to it. Credit check swipe. Thanks for countering the smears, Jamarl. They're desperate for sweet, sweet bankster cash. Sweet, sweet bankster cash. I like that. All right, guys. I'm going to end this here. I have multiple videos. Oh, and Ron from The Door Show is coming on today. He's going to come on for a spot. He wants to talk about something. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but he will be here at 4 p.m. So I see you guys in about 10 minutes. Thanks all. If you enjoy this content, you find yourself coming back to this channel often, please consider supporting through PayPal or Patreon. Like I just said, that they are going after our channels, and for the most part, we have no idea when it comes. It can take place at any point. They knocked out many channels. Many of those channels weren't doing edgy content at all. They were just doing history. It seems to be somewhat arbitrary. So definitely support your content creators. If it's not me, definitely support your content creators. Thanks all. Bye-bye.